Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rantz alongside TK Tommy Krysan. Tommy, as he does each and every Monday, joining us from Court Street Cafe in downtown Port Allen, Louisiana, right across the Mississippi River from Baton Rouge is Court Street Cafe, one of our great sponsors here on this Monday morning edition. All right, so not a lot of positive to talk about unless you're a Tulane fan. But if you're an LSU or a Saints fan, we've had too many of these weekends, it seems, already this year. LSU picks up their second loss, and look where I'm at, TK.
All right. Yeah, Vanderbilt's baseball field.
No, that's actually the football stadium, but it looks like a baseball stadium. That's how small it is. I mean, you had about 46,000 of your closest friends at the game here this past weekend. I am still in Nashville. We have some summer baseball summit stuff going on this week up here for summer collegiate baseball, some meetings all week. And I wanted to come here within the shadows of the stadium to talk about the debacle that was LSU and Vanderbilt on Saturday. First time the Tigers have lost in Nashville or lost to Vandy since 1990 when a young freshman left-hander was enrolled at the LSU. That was 10 games ago or 11 games ago. And that was the famous game where Todd Kinchin caught the winning touchdown on the final play of the game, a Hail Mary pass in the end zone. Todd Kitchen's going to be your hero, and they call him a penalty for pushing off in the pile to go get it, which he did. He pushed off, but everybody does in a Hail Mary situation. But you never see it called, but you did that day when LSU lost to Vanderbilt in 1990. That was the last time the Tigers lost. It took place in this stadium, by the way. And this was the Pavia game on Saturday, Tommy. And look, he's not going to win the Heisman probably because he's not going to have the best stats or anything. But Pavia, the quarterback for Vandy, there will be a statue of him built somewhere outside this stadium in about 10 years.
I agree with you. I remember I'm backing up to last year when they upset Alabama in Nashville. Okay, and then they lost this year, but they got the ball back late with a chance to get a touchdown if they scored. And he told the team in the huddle, all the reports say this, hey, let's go change our lives. If we drive and score and knock off number one ranked Alabama, all of our lives are going to change. Guess what? They drove and scored, and since then their lives have changed. Yeah, they're 6-1 now for the first time since the 1940s, and they beat LSU. We all know the story. I don't think he's going to win the Heisman, but he plays with a confidence. He plays with a swag, kind of Johnny Manziel-ish, where you just don't know what he's going to do, when he's going to twist and turn, but he does end up leading his team to victory. LSU just, I don't know, Ronnie. It's hard to put a thumb on it. They just weren't there mentally, physically. Vanderbilt deserved to win. Coach Kelly made that comment after the game. They deserved to win the game, and they did win the game. I mean, this was not something I thought I thought it'd be close. I thought LSU had a chance to win late, but Vanderbilt, you got to give them credit. I mean, they got it done.
They did. They showed a toughness that's really incredible. How this Vanderbilt program has changed its identity. It's changed the culture. Uh, I mean, look, we're going. We would be curious if we can put it in the vault and look back. I don't know, 5 years. Look ahead 5 years from now, and then look back at this game and go down the roster and see who's playing in the NFL and who's not. Right? I guarantee you, LSU's going to have a lot more players, and we're going to go, how the hell did they lose to Vanderbilt? That year back in 2025, and how did Vanderbilt physically whip LSU on in the trenches, right? In the offensive defensive line. That's the thing that just blows my mind. Yeah, Pavia gets a lot of credit as well. He should. He's changed the culture. He's the leader. The quarterback is the most important sports figure on any team. I'd be more important. I don't know. Is he as important as the starting pitcher in a Major League Baseball playoff game? Maybe, you know what I mean? Like I just think that you look at it in the NFL when the starting quarterback goes out and the backup comes in. Those are great players, and yet the offense is usually sputter and it's a different world. The quarterback is so important for so many reasons, and mentally just as much as physically. Well, the offensive defensive lines for Vanderbilt had their way and were better than LSU's offensive defensive lines. That makes zero sense. That makes zero sense. And I mean, they rushed for over 200 yards against this LSU defense. Hey, I know they were playing without Whit Weeks, and that's a huge factor. Guys, arguably their best defensive player, but still, they should not be able to run, just line up and run the football at will, because Vanderbilt doesn't really want to throw the ball. They don't throw the ball all that well. Pavi is sort of a throw when necessary kind of guy, and yet they just lined up, and LSU knew it was coming and couldn't stop them.
They couldn't stop it. That's alarming. Okay, I mean, you make very good points, and I agree with them. I mean, LSU's got two major problems: the offensive line and the play calling. Okay, the play calling is just, I mean, it's junior high. I mean, that's what it is. And when something's not working and you keep running it, I mean, it just kind of makes people shake their head. I mean, fans have a lot of knowledge about football, and it was just a disappointing day for LSU. And guess what? You got A&M, you got an open date, you got Alabama. They could easily lose the next two games based on what we've seen. Even though the game this Saturday's at home in Tiger Stadium against A&M, who barely got past Arkansas. Arkansas had over 500 yards offense and scored 42 points against A&M. Now, if LSU's offense gets stifled by A&M, we know the problem's the LSU offense.
But Arkansas has got, Petrino as their coach. He is an outstanding offensive mind. He's an outstanding collegiate offensive coach. Has been all his life. Has turned around many. So I mean, that's what Arkansas can do under Bobby Petrino. He's obviously was already on the staff as a coordinator. Promoted him to the interim head coach. They played better. As he's been the interim head coach. They haven't won, but they played better. Now I don't know how that'll proceed moving forward. But my point is that you look at what Lane Kiffin did. Now they lost, but their offense was good, right? Their offense at Ole Miss and their offense at Arkansas. But those programs, those schools are not supposed to have both sides of the ball, right? I mean, you're going to have one or the other. And LSU though is supposed to have both sides of the ball. We went into this season expecting Garrett Nussmeier to look the part of a first-round pick quarterback. I don't know what all said and done, and I give up trying to predict quarterbacks in the NFL because they oversign, they overshoot. Everybody's so desperate for a quarterback. They take a guy who's supposed to should be a third-round talent, and they'll make him a first-round talent because everybody's just throwing quarterbacks against the wall, Tommy. Every 5 quarterbacks a year in the first round, throw them against the wall, see what sticks, and see if you can find one to hopefully change the course of your franchise. So everybody's so desperate for a quarterback that it doesn't mean just because you're a first, second round pick these days that you really should be a first or second round pick. It's just a necessity. Like everybody changes quarterbacks like underwear in the NFL because you're just trying to find lightning in the bottle. Garrett Nussmeier, I don't know where he's going to end up. I don't know if he's going to somehow end up in the first round. He shouldn't, based on his body of work and his play. But then how hurt is he? We will know the real, true Hollywood story in December when the season's over with. He probably won't play in the bowl game. All those things. We'll find out, oh, he had this thing, he had that thing, this injury. But the LSU offense is so disastrously bad. How about this, Tommy? I wish you didn't have enough going on in your life where you could go back and look at every timeout that LSU has had when they've had the ball on offense. Whether they've called a timeout, whether it was a TV timeout, but how bad is LSU coming out of timeouts where they constantly bust the play, get a penalty, they don't run the right play. Usually when you were in a timeout, watch college basketball. When you call a timeout in college basketball, that's usually when your team runs its best offensive play. That's where in the backdoor alley-oop slam dunk happens or whatever. And LSU does not take care of their timeouts. Their coaching is so poor, their execution is so poor that when they come out of timeouts, it's like they weren't ever in one.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Or they lined up wrong twice. Once this week, once the week before. Coming out of the timeout, got an illegal formation. Okay, I mean there's just a lot of question marks offensively about LSU. And of course, the defense without Whit Weeks, that was part of it. But they didn't play they played their worst game of the year because I don't know that Vanderbilt's a great team, although they're now in the top 10 for the first time in their lives. And then, as I said last week, Ronnie, I remember when Indiana was a basketball school. They're now number 2 in the country. Number 2, 9 top 25 teams got beat. And this is all a result of the portal and NIL and about 30 other things. But those two things lead the list of what's happening across. Texas Tech looked like they were going to roll and they get beat by Arizona State. I mean, it's tough to gamble on sports no matter what. College football this year is even more tough to figure out what's going to happen or not happen.
Well, here's the thing, Tommy, is that this was the year, right? This was the year for LSU football because of all the things you mentioned, right? There aren't any great teams, right? Ohio State definitely looks the part, and they're the
Right.
defending national champs, and they've got some NFL superstars at some of their specialty positions. Um, and Ohio State looks the part. But look, the rest of the college football landscape has given Georgia and Alabama time to work it out. You got NFL players, you got Hall of Fame coaches. You're gonna look up down the road. It's gonna be Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama. It's gonna be the same teams, right? I mean, it's gonna be the same teams But this was the year where you don't have to be great to be a playoff team. You didn't have to be great. This didn't have to be LSU's best team ever and the best roster I've had since I've been at LSU, said Brian Kelly before the season. This was a year where you could have gone 10-2. But now there's no chance they're going to go 10-2. Like they're going to turn things around and all of a sudden just going to run the table against the hardest part of their schedule. But this was the year to have two mulligans and easily end up in the playoffs. But instead, that's not going to happen. I got them going 7-5, 8-4 at best, Tommy. At this point,
I
seven and
think
five.
eight,
I think they lose to Oklahoma on the road. I think they lose to Alabama on the road. And then this weekend's a coin flip game.
Yeah, I mean, the only sure win is Western Kentucky. And we don't even know if that's a sure win. But no, I agree with you completely. I mean, 8-4 might be top end. I mean, it could be 7-5. And we'll see what happens with the rest of that story. But LSU, you're right. They backed themselves into a corner.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the New Orleans Saints. This was a game I was a little bit worried about as a gambler that's wanting the Saints to lose every game because I've got two tickets, one at 5.5 and one at 3.5 that I'm trying to cash total wins on the season. So the game was a little worried about just because Chicago with Caleb Williams at quarterback, still a work in progress to a certain extent. You're not sure what you're going to get. Spencer Rattler's played decent. This was probably Spencer Rattler's worst game this season. And I feel much better about my tickets. But the Saints showed a little life, late in the second half. But outside of that, this was a game that I was surprised that how poorly the Saints offense played.
Well, the Bears get out 20-0, and you're thinking, oh, well, here we go. Guys, Saints, somebody told me, man, at least they came back. They're supposed to try. They're supposed to come back. You're a professional football player. You're supposed to have effort. You're supposed to do this. And, I don't know how good the Bears are going to be, but this just was a bad day for the Saints. And, you had the whole Dennis Allen thing and he made the comment like, you're not always wanted someplace. Maybe you wanted somewhere else. He threw a little jab at the Saints because I'm sure he was disappointed because he was fired. Because keep in mind, he was in New Orleans as assistant coach for many years before he became the head coach. So, he has a lot of ties. He spoke to a friend of mine in New Orleans Friday and said the Bears really want this one big time. So I went Bears -3.5, and that worked out.
Yeah, I mean, Dennis Allen, I think he spent 15 years of his NFL career or something like that as a coach in New Orleans, or 9 of his 15 or whatever it is. I mean, yeah, it's been a long time. And so, look, coaches are hired to be fired. I mean, it's very rare that you're hired and you get to go out on your own terms, whether it be college or NFL. So,
Well, and that's becoming less of a thing nowadays with the must win now and coaches that can't even last a whole season. And when's the last time we had an announcement like, okay, he's going to coach the rest of the year, but we're going to get a new guy next year? No, they just whack people.
usually
Billy
it's cut
Napier got whacked. Jay
you know,
Norville got fired at Colorado State, and who knows what else is going to happen. A lot of talk today. The Dolphins are going to fire McDaniel.
Well, that definitely is going to happen. The Dolphins, I mean, that was disastrous the way they played against the Browns yesterday. They're now 1-6, I believe. That's a weird fix. weird fit. Done. Tua. I mean, what did I thought? I would have thought Tua would have been a better NFL quarterback. He showed great signs a couple years ago, but man, the way it's fallen off the track, it's incredible. Um, as far as two guys, Brian Kelly and Dabo Sweeney go, you're talking about two Hall of Fame coaches, and you know, talk about Brian Kelly first. Unless there is some billionaire out there that decides to just, hey, LSU, let me write you a check for 30 million. You guys have the rest. Y'all figure it out. We're going to get rid of him. Then Brian Kelly ain't going nowhere. So and there's not even a threat that he's going to go anywhere. I mean, LSU financially, the state of Louisiana financially does not have the money to be Texas A&M or Penn State. So stop. Okay, so just stop. Don't even talk about it at work. Nothing to talk about. That dude is going to be here for the next 2 years, regardless. They don't have the money to just piss away $50 million to buy him out. So that's not happening. The other thing is Dabo Sweeney. I mean, what's going on over there? They lost again. They have a losing record. This is a terrible, terrible season for Clemson. Again, in this day and age where you got to pay the players, it's more important to pay your bills and to pay the players than it is to fire coaches. It still continues to surprise me, Tommy, that coaches are getting fired and buyouts are happening. I mean, the buyout for Florida for Napier is over 20 million. Um, and they just won. That one surprised me. I know it's an open week this week, and that's the thought process, as if that matters, Tommy, as if they're going to make some big change and turnaround. I think it was just as much about Florida survived and advanced against Mississippi State this weekend when they shouldn't. And Mississippi State was deep in Florida territory, lining up to kick a field goal. Their quarterback throws an interception, and Florida survives. I think they were also worried, Tommy. They didn't want to give Billy Napier a chance to just possibly win a few games and do like he did last year, get hot at the end, and we have to keep him now, or have that conversation and discussion. I think they wanted to just cut the head off the snake right now, get rid of Billy Napier. He's been dead man walking for really a year and a half. Everybody thought he was going to be fired last year. He got hot the last half of the season, survived another year. They had expectations. He didn't live up to that, and now they didn't want the schedule down the stretch doesn't look as hard as it did a couple weeks ago, and they just didn't want to take a chance that all of a sudden he might win some games and get to 7 wins or something.
Well, I agree with that, and they had the open date, so that's what you point to. And then, of course, LSU has an open date after A&M. I know they don't have the money, but if they find the money, it would happen if he loses to A&M. Okay, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm not going to rule it out. Okay, because you never know, what Scott Woodward's going to do this week. And hey, Dabo Sweeney, he played the credibility card. You saw that he gets beat at home by SMU, and he goes, we have a couple of titles and we've done this and we've done that. And, he had to play the credibility card like, hey, I can get this turned around. I've done it here before. And so we'll see how that plays out in Clemson. But in college football, the landscape of college football is just so different now in so many ways.
Let's talk a little college baseball for a minute, because today's a big day in the lives of a couple of teams. LSU Shreveport, who went 59-0.
I still can't figure that out.
They won the NAIA National Championship this past summer. They're going to be at the White House today. LSU's Jay Johnson and his 25 team will be at the White House today, along with some other spring sports, meeting the president. That's going to be a thrill. And it reminds me, 2019 when I was here last, the Joe Burrow game, I was on the sidelines before the game, and I want to say Paul Maneri came up with, had flew up with, the boosters and whatnot, and Paul Maneri was sitting on the sidelines, and Vanderbilt at halftime honored their 2019 team, or 2019 team, for maybe it was 2019 game, or was it maybe a couple years before? I have to look back, but it was either the 2019 game or it was some other game before that. But I was on the sidelines, and Paul Maneri had to watch Vanderbilt get honored and get their national championship rings. And they did it, of course, when they played LSU. And the Vandy sidelines are right on the field. And so Paul had to sit there and watch Vanderbilt get their national championship baseball rings. And he was not a happy camper, I can assure you. I remember that.
Well,
But
LSU went to D.C. last night, and they're taking a tour of the capital city today. If you want to watch it, it's at whitehouse.gov/live. At 3 o'clock is what they're saying, where LSU, Jay Johnson and his team will meet the president. And as you said, LSU Shreveport pilots are up there as well. So that's a big day for those people. Not everybody gets to meet the president of the United States.
Well, it's a big day, and look, the LSU's doing it right. I mean, much better than when we went in 1991 and we just flew up, met the president, and flew right back. They went up last night. They had a team meal overlooking the Capitol, and they had Senator Johnson, Representative Johnson, Speaker of the House, talk to the team. And I mean, this is first class. They're doing a tour today at the Capitol to hold on. Ours was like, hey, yeah, I'll stand right here, sit right here. We got you. But what was funny was, I'll tell you the rest of the E! True Hollywood story. The other day, I told the story of how,
Right.
I made it to the Rose Garden. Well, today I'll tell you the story of after what happened. So we meet the president, we meet Ted Williams, we meet Joe DiMaggio, which was unbelievable. That in itself was so incredible. My conversations with Ted Williams about throwing a curveball. Joe DiMaggio was so just senatorial, just distinguished, and to be able to shake his hand and have a brief interaction was really, really cool. But I'll tell you this part. So Mike Neal and I have to head back to Anchorage, Alaska, because we're playing for the Glacier Pilots in the Summer Collegiate League up there in Alaska. And so we get on our plane. We're going to head back. We're going to fly to Detroit, change planes in Detroit, fly to Anchorage. And we were on Northwest Airlines at the time, no longer there. And so we get to Detroit, and this is the day and age. It's 1991, Tommy. No cell phones, anything like that. Didn't have a cell phone. Didn't have a brick bag, anything like that. And so we get there, and we got a long layover in Detroit. So, a couple hour layover or whatever. So we're going to go have, lunch. I think Mike and I each had like $35 on us or something, and we're going to go get some lunch or whatever. Well, like an idiot, and again, no cell phones. I don't think I had a watch. We both thought, okay, 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock is when our flight leaves, let's just say. Well, we didn't realize that Detroit was Eastern time. We thought it was Central time, and we're just sitting in there eating. And by the time when we walked back to our gate an hour before, we are seeing the nose pulling away from the window. Right? I mean, it's backing up. The door is shut, and the nose is pulling up. We're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We run up there to the gate. Wait, the flight's supposed to be at 3 o'clock, or whatever. And they're like, yeah, it's 3 o'clock. And I'm like, what? And we looked up. We're confused. They're like, yeah, it's 3 o'clock. And we realized we thought Detroit was Central time, and it was actually Eastern time. And us two collegiate dummies missed our flight. And Tommy, in my mind, I'm looking at the map, and I'm like, oh, the hand is just straight up, sort of just to the east of Chicago, like that's Central, right? I mean, just no concept. Both of us missed it. And so we had to spend the night in Detroit and get on the first flight out. It was the last flight of the day going to Anchorage. So we have no money. The airline gives us a free hotel room at the kindness of their heart, but they don't give us any money for food or anything. So we rated I think we took a cab or a free shuttle to like a hotel, a motel nearby. I mean, we had no change of clothes, Tommy. I think I washed my underwear like in the sink or something. And we ate a bag of chips, and then we got on the flight the next morning and made it all the way back to Anchorage, Alaska. Brutal experience.
We need a documentary on the travels of Mike Neal and Ron Rantz that in the summer of '91, whatever that was.
We should not be allowed to travel together. It's not a good.
No, you can't. No, I'm gonna have to tell Mike. Don't make a plan with Rantz. It won't work. Or you don't need to make one with him. One of the two.
Yeah, no, it was bad. But look, it's going to be an experience of a lifetime. Already is an experience of a lifetime for those guys. I'm super thrilled for really both teams. LSU Shreveport, they deserve some love, man. 59-0,
I
something
still
that's
can't
never been
figure.
done before at any level of college baseball. And so I'm glad that they're getting to experience the White House as well.
I mean, I still can't wrap my head around 59-0 in baseball. I don't care if it's NAIA. I don't care if it's T-ball. You don't go 59-0, But so no, good to see them get some publicity. And hey, they're going to have a lot of people paying attention to their schedule next spring.
By the way, that's because of, the Speaker of the House, Johnson. That's his area, right? That's his
Right.
district up there in Shreveport. So he's the one that made that happen, and that's
That's
awesome to
fine.
see.
Yeah, that's no
Awesome to see.
problem. I'm good with that.
All right, TK, tell us about a little MLB on the way out.
Hey, Game 7 tonight, American League Championship Series. Toronto wins Game 6, facing elimination, and they're going to throw Shane Bieber tonight, and he's been on fire. They're at home. They're favored tonight. Winner gets the Dodgers. World Series doesn't start till Friday night, but you got Game 7 tonight. I'll be in front of the TV. Seattle, Toronto, going to start right about 7 o'clock. George Kirby will throw for Seattle, and it's Game 7. That's all you need to say. It's Game 7. Winner punches a ticket to the World Series to play the Dodgers. All right, Ronnie throws up on us there. Ronnie, you still with us? All right, I know I'll be watching Game 7 tonight, Seattle, Toronto. Kind of like Toronto if you want to get a wager. I won on them last night, and they're back at home tonight. Hey, don't forget about Court Street Cafe right here in Port Allen. They started the return to the menu of char-grilled oysters every Friday and Saturday after 4 p.m. They're outstanding char-grilled oysters, Saturday night, steak night, the Sunday brunch. But Monday through Friday, the rest of the days, breakfast, lunch, dinner, red beans and rice for lunch today. Jason and the staff do a super job at Court Street Cafe in Port Allen, just a couple of minutes over the Mississippi River Bridge. We want you to check them out real soon if you've not done so already. If you've done so, I know you've been back. Court Street Cafe in Port Allen. Hit them up on Facebook and Instagram. You'll learn all about the lunch specials, dinner specials, drink specials, dinner of the week, char-grilled oysters, steak, brunch, you name it. Court Street Cafe in Port Allen. We're back Wednesday morning for another episode of Sports Shorts Daily. Until then, we hope you have a wonderful week. Talk